Hello, my name is Carl Surrey, and this is a video tutorial for the fans of Serif software group, which can be found on Facebook. Now, in this tutorial I want to have a very quick look at using textures with your photographs. You can get textures. I have one already set up here like this on the internet. Most of them you might have to pay for in a certain way, but you can get many free ones. This one I got from Serif itself, from their collection photo textures and overlays. So if I just click on that file, as you can see here, they have many textures. If I go back one step, they have two files of textures and two files of overlays. I've selected mine from textures part 2, and I've used texture number 74, which is like some close up of some wood grain. So let me go back to PhotoPlus. Now this image that I'm going to use is the same image that I used in the video that I did before this, which was the beginner's guide part 14, I believe it was, which looked at the dodge and burn tool. And I used the dodge and burn tool really just to alter this jetty to give it some texture and different colours, so it looked a bit more interesting. So that is what I'm going to do again, but this time using the texture. So what I need to do is first go back to the texture, and I'm going to duplicate that by right clicking the layer itself in the layer display area and coming up to duplicate, and then just click OK. You could rename it, but I'm just going to click OK. So I now have two copies. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to need to use a layer mask, and you can't add a layer mask to the background. So I can hide the background because I don't really need it, and just by clicking on this button here. So now I need to add the picture to this texture. So I'll just go back to the picture, and I'll come up to select all. You can just press Control and A, then come over to edit and copy, or you can press Control and C. Go back to the texture and then go back to edit and paste as a new layer, which is Control and L. So as you can see here, I now have the 3 layers, although that one is turned off. Now what I need to do now is to blend this image to the texture below it. Now if you click on this downward arrow, as you can see, you've got all the different blend modes. Now I would say to you, try them all. See which one works with your particular texture. Some will work better than others, and it depends on what you're really trying to do. But I've found over the past that the best ones are normally multiply, screen, overlay, soft light and hard light. But I will just scroll through these just so you can see what they're going to look like on my particular picture. So if you keep the mouse, especially if you've got a wheel mouse, if you keep it over the blend mode name, and then you can just use a wheel mouse to scroll through them. As you can see, I'll try and keep it away from the name so you can see which one I am on. As you can see, you can get all sorts of effects depending on what it is you're after. See, overlay is not too bad. It may be a bit, makes the picture a bit too faded. on this particular image. If you had a darker image, it may have worked better. Soft light, and I think the next one is the one I will end up using, which is hard light, but I'll come back to that in a second. Just finish going through these. Linear light, difference, hard mix, hue has no effect whatsoever, nor does saturation really, and lightness just makes it into sort of almost black and white image. So let me go back to hard light, which is the one I'm going to use. And to a certain extent, you could almost stop there if that was the effect you was after. Make it look like an image that's been painted onto a piece of wood, for example. But what I want is the wood grain on my jetty, but not on the rest of the image, which is why I need to add a layer mask to this background copy layer. So if I click on that and highlight it, and then down in the bottom here you have some icons, and this one here, which is like a grey square with a white shield type thing in it, and is the add layer mask. Click on that, and it adds this white box here, which is the layer mask itself, which is white. Now if I paint black onto this, it will hide the texture from wherever I paint black. So I have black as my foreground color, and if you do not have that set, say for example it was white and black, you can just click on this button here and it will reset it to black and white. So I have black as my foreground color. I just need the paintbrush, which is the tool icon is over here, or you can just press B on the keyboard. And once you click on that, you have a round circle, which is a representation of the paintbrush. I'm going to want 100% opacity. I'm going to need a bigger brush size, so I will raise this up quite high. You can also use the left and right square brackets on the keyboard to increase the size as and when you need to. Right, so I'm now ready to start painting black on here, and when you won't actually see black on the image because it is happening to the layer mask and not to the image. But as you can see, as you paint black, it is removing the texture, and then the layer mask is now changing from black or from white to black and white. So as this is a fairly easy thing to cut out, I mean an image you use might be a bit harder because it may have not so many straight edges like my jetty does, but I'm going to come as close as I dare with this big brush, like that. And then I'm going to reduce the size using the keyboard, and then I'm going to come down here. I mean I could have gone round these stumps on the jetty, and if I had the time I probably would do, but as I'm just doing a very quick demonstration, I'm going to go over them so the texture effect is only happening to the jetty itself. Nearly finished, I think. So there you have it really. The layer mask, the only area that is allowing the texture to come through is this white area, which is the jetty. And then if I turn this layer on and off, you can see how the effect of the texture is happening to the jetty. I mean it may not be an effect that you like so much. I mean I could even lower the opacity of that to try and make it a slightly subtler a feel to it, maybe a bit too low. I'll come up to about 80 or so percent. Turn that on and off. Yeah, see, I've now added some texture to the jetty that was never there to start with, just by adding this layer and a layer mask. I mean, you could still, or tinker with the image. So, for example, if you come back up to the top layer and highlight that, you could add an adjustment layer. Say, for example, levels, which the tool itself comes with a layer mask. So you could, for example, and the actual tool is up here, you could darken it by moving the middle slider or the left hand slider, but normally best to work with the mid-tones, I find. Move the middle slider to the right slightly, and if, like me, you may not want to darken the area that you've just worked on, you could then alter the layer mask for the tool itself. So again, the brush is already selected, and I have black there. I will put the opacity up to 100%, and I will paint on the jetty itself. Maybe increase the brush size for this large area at least. Come down in size a bit. So after all the effort I went to get the texture onto this jetty, I don't necessarily want to lose it by darkening it, but I have improved the sky a bit. Let me just zoom in and reduce the brush size. I mean, if you were doing this on your own image, you could take a bit more time than I am. I'm getting a bit slapdash here, I must admit. And nearly finished, I think. And we're almost there. Yes, yes. It's amazing how time consuming these little jobs can be, even when you're doing it quickly like I am. But I'm sure that you will be a bit more patient than I am. Right, let me zoom out again. There's a few minor areas I've missed down here. Right, well that's good enough. So as you can see, the decking is now of the jetty is now lighter because I've masked it out from the tool, whereas the texture is missing from the rest of the area because I've masked it out from this layer. So this is a demonstration of not just textures really, it's a demonstration of how you can use layer masks to hide certain areas. If I just turn that tool on and off, you can see how the layer levels tool is only now affecting everything but the jetty, because the jetty is being protected by the layer mask. Well, I hope that has been of some help in showing you how you can use textures, and don't forget that you can try all different sorts of blending modes when you do use textures, and even when you have finished you can add extra tools, adjustments, and even then you can layer mask them out as well. So all you'd need to do then is merge your layers, come up to layers and come down to merge all, and because you have the bottom one turned off, or I do, it should give you a message asking you whether you want to disregard that. Oh, it didn't this time. Sometimes it just does, but as I didn't want it, I would have just said yes, disregard it. So that is that. You could then now save this under a new name, and if you've done a pretty good job on it, most people would not really ever realise that that wasn't how that image looked at the beginning. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.